What is SX like when you are old, 80 plus? Don't know about 80 plus, but at nearly 70 it is still excellent. You have to adjust to the aging process, but with staying fairly fit it is still the finest free thing I was ever granted except my birth. I hope to be enjoying it at 80 plus too. Edit. Thank you all for your interest, fun, skepticism and whatever else made you interact about an older guy's normal SX life. Thanks for the awards too. No. I've had it with this now though. Enough is enough. Enjoy your edit. Enjoy your lives. Enjoy your SX lives please. Ciao. Adios. Bye bye. Fun story. When I was a college kid I went to my maternal grandfather's house. He was at least 80. And has always been known as a womanizer. I believe he was married about 5 times. Anyway. When I got to his house. He had a VHS tape on top of his television which said SX positions for hip pain and another one. Yes, he had 2 that said SX positions for the elderly, so there you have. Grandpa was getting it on with some help from his friends. My grandfather once told me that he kept a hammer in his bedside table so that if he brought a lady friend home he could whack it and tell her to jump on before the swelling went down. I miss that old man so much. Eater. Thank you for the metals. I'm glad Grandpop has brought so much joy to everyone today. He was an old coot who loved to say things to make your jaw drop, so I know that he's up there laughing his ass off right now. Anyone notice how nobody 80 plus is answering? Because they're too busy having SX. While repairing my grandpa's laptop I saw that PRN is still a thing in this age. 75 yo. When I was really young I was at my grandparents' house and a PRN pop-up came up and it was a dude ejaculating into a girl's mouth, and I asked my grandma innocently, why is that man peeing into that lady's mouth, and I forgot that ever happened till I read this thread. He was around 65-70 at the time. Edit. It was my grandpa's PRN. An older guy. I think he was at least 75 when this occurred. I used to work with once said his wife was very traditional, so it was only missionary for the most part. He said she had amazing tits though and he always wanted to them. He bought a Tempur-Pedic fully adjustable bed for Christmas as a present for both of them. Next time she was in the mood he tilted her upper body just right and finally got to her tits while they were going at it in missionary. Don't let your dreams be dreams. That old grandmother is a goddamn inspiration. From what I hear, at least around where I live, STIs are weirdly common on people over 70. Because they decide to be super active at that age and don't wear protection. So that Parks and Rec episode wasn't too far off. I'm an old lady. Why do I need birth control? There's a place in Florida called The Villages where many old people go to retire. It's known to be a huge swinger community with a loofah-based communication system where the color of the loofah, usually displayed on a car or something like that, indicates the kind of stuff you're into. It's also known to have its own strain of gonorrhea. Edit to add. If you Google Villages loofah communication you'll find a forum for The Villages. Very funny to read through. Goddamnit. My mom lives there. Edit. Well. This blew up. Mom. If the train ever stops long enough for you to put the dicks down and read this. I'm sorry? 3 years after my grandma passed, my grandpa, at age 82, got remarried to another woman his age who was also widowed around the same time. I heard through the grapevine that she was bragging to the other older ladies at coffee about how much action she was getting. Initially I was a little grossed out. But you know what? I work with the elderly and know of a few who use SX workers. It's a pain in the ass for their assisted living managers as you have randoms coming in and out. Danger there also is the SX workers would then give sob stories to get money out of one old man I know, and he would give away his pension and then have nothing for food or bills. One old fella I worked with had posters of topless women all over his bedroom wall. Literally plaster like wallpaper all over, and would ring SX lines and run up huge bills. Edited. Spelling. Changed first mention from P word to SX worker to avoid offense. Comment. I'm not slurring sex workers as a whole. But some I had experience with in relation to this role were causing issues for elders, including taking all their money, being abusive to neighbors in the supported housing, drug use in the building as a few examples. I don't see a lot at the home where I work, but there are a few more promiscuous ladies. Mostly old dudes asking the CNAs for favors or looking down their shirts or touching them inappropriately. I'm a male in my 30s. I get propositions semi-jokingly probably 4-5 times a year. You think it's a joke? If you're both fit and healthy, probably pretty decent. At least. My 87-year-old great aunt and her partner of a similar age are definitely banging. A lot. She had a real life with a very controlling mother and sister. Was forbidden to even date her whole life, although she probably did in secret. But having a stable relationship would have been out of the question. When her mum and sister eventually died, lo and behold, she suddenly got a boyfriend living with her. Good for her. They totally bone like rabbits. They're both very healthy and spry for people in their 80s. Plus, she has a filthy sense of humor. Then again, from what I can gather from this thread, 80-year-olds get more sex than the vast majority of petulant redditors. I'm told it's fine whilst not that old, yet I'm old enough to have friends in that group. Slower. Less often but still pleasurable, especially as very often it's couples who are truly fond of each other. I think it happens in black and white with a really grainy filter. I went fishing with my grandpa when he was around 84. I asked him, "Grandpa, when do you stop thinking about PSSY?" He turned to me and said, "I don't know, sonny." Follow-up question I've always wondered is how often are paramedics called when older people overexert themselves? Passed quietly in his sleep and heart gave out while doing what she loved and obviously natural causes. Seriously. I know of at least 3 old people who died while playing hide the salami. Just go to the old people home. Grab the boombox and hit the turbo bass. My dad is 75. And since my mother died a couple of years ago, he's been making up for lost time. He's apparently quite a hot commodity in the over 70s dating circles, as he's still got his own teeth and everything works as it should. Problem is, he likes a younger woman. Because most British women over 70 look more like Mrs. Brown than Helen Mirren. Arthritis and dodgy hips mean that you can't do it for long. But he tells me that certain things are better. You don't have to worry about hormonal birth control, PMT and all that sort of stuff. And you know it's gonna be good when she gives you that look as she's taking her teeth out. I'll attempt it at age 112. It's not related, but I just thought I'd say this. 112 is 911 where I'm from. Have a nice day. Edit. For everyone asking. We're in our 70s. Married 50 years. And it's awesome. Not as often as in our 20s. But better or guess MS. No hurry because of kids. Or work. Much more fulfilling. My better half works in a nursing home. And octogenarian sex is apparently rampant. She mentioned a couple who would do it in the supply closet. And you'd notice because there were 2 walkers parked outside. All without protection, of course. Because hey, she won't get pregnant. Which causes other issues. And then there's the mortified families of the elderly. Who just know their sweet kind mother was upped by this lecherous old man. Never mind that mom is the one who starts it most of the time. My wife says it's a combination of a bit of freedom, a lost spouse, loneliness, and lack of worry about pregnancy. Worked in a retirement home for half a year. I saw some stuff I wasn't prepared for. Basically all the old single guys had some sort of pills that would help them get hard. They're not even shy about it. Some of the single women had lube just casually out on their nightstands. Not a night went by where I didn't catch some old man or woman sneak around in the halls like they're teenagers on a school trip. It's kind of adorable. But also hilarious when they have loud clanking mobility aids and walk really slow. Doesn't matter what time of day it was though. You knock pretty loud and long on doors. because some of them were like rabbits. Even after knocking for 10 seconds straight, you'd walk in on people lying. The image of saggy old man butt cheeks doing doggy style is not faint of heart. Both men and women were pretty open about their sex life. They said that a lot of positions obviously don't work anymore and you need to use a lot of lube. But otherwise it's pretty much the same. Just slower. If you do it doggy style, each jab will have your balls smack her in the face. How do I unbread something? Welp. According to my mom who used to work at a nursing home, they are very active. Apparently they also had a residential RPS there too that the staff had to watch like a hawk because he kept attacking all the bedridden women. They couldn't really do anything legally though to remove him from the facility because he wasn't considered mentally competent anymore. So yeah, that was a thing. My mom is 80 this year. About 10 years ago, one of her good friends, who was 88 at the time, went to her hometown to visit an old boyfriend for sex. When she got back, she called and told my mom all the details. She died 2 weeks later. Apparently, this man was quite handsome and only 70. He was at her funeral and had the senior ladies all aflutter. Even my mom wanted a go at him. Did a summer holiday working at a care home and the staff were full of stories. There had been love triangles, guests sneaking into each other's bedrooms, playboys in their 90s and even residents who had cheated on spouses still living at their home. I became friends with a lady in her 80s. She worked up the courage one day to ask me to go to help her pick out a vibrator. Her old one had broken, and there were so many new styles and types. She wanted a friend to go with her. I almost peed myself laughing when she looked at me and said, "Oh, so when you get to my age, you spend a lot of time mad about the guys you didn't do. I should have had them all. Don't you dare make the same mistakes. Eventually no one wants the day-old donuts. No matter how discounted they are. As much as you can for as long as you can. The alternative is much, much worse." I bought her a rabbit, a magic wand, some lube, and a few magazines. Figured it was the least I could do. Rock on, Silver Lady. Desire never dies. I have a friend in his 70s who tells me Viagra doesn't help anymore. But he still has desire. When my 90+ dad died, I cleaned out his browser history. Never told anyone. As for me, all the desire. Love sex when I have it. But I'm the wrong guy to ask. Marriage partner has major issues. Worked in a hospital. Have had patients who were 80+ that were moved from nursing home to nursing home because they had sex with other residents all the time. Unfortunately, some of these people were suffering from dementia or were otherwise impaired. So really couldn't consent and were at risk of catching STDs. But, apparently, older folks still enjoy it. Old people get more sex than young people because young people still think they have time to wait. And old people think they waited too long. Edit. Not 80+ but my granddad was 70 when he unfortunately passed away of cancer. At the time my nana was like 63, give or take a year. Due to the type of cancer he had during his last months, he was unable to make love to his wife, which was what he was most devastated about. He said this to a room of us when he was in his hospital bed. I was 12 at the time. My mum, unfortunately, had the courage to make a joke about how he shouldn't be having sex at his age. Or with my nana's conditions. My nana had been diagnosed with Parkinson's for 15 years at this point and often got the shakes, as we call it, tremors in her body. Predominantly in the limbs. The last time I saw my granddad, at the age of 12, one of the last things I heard him say was my nana's Parkinson's made making love easier at their age and more fun. And that is the day I realized if my nana wasn't sterilized because of complications after her 9th child, she would have had 20. Reminds me of a joke I heard years ago. Man and woman decide to stay in the same hotel room they stayed at during their honeymoon for their 60th anniversary. Man goes into the bathroom to do his nightly bedtime routine. Comes out to find his wife naked. Standing in her head. Legs wide apart. Shocked to see this. He says, Gertrude. Why are you like this? Gertrude answers. I figured since you can't get it up anymore, the least you could is drop it in. I worked for a guy who was about 77 years old splitting wood a little while back, and I swear to you this man had a new woman over every day. He had sex more than me and all my friends together. Like every night he got laid. A really smooth bowel movement. Thank you for these responses. Everyone. I genuinely thought I'd put serious replies only. But boy am I glad I didn't. I've had a crummy past few days and some of these responses have made me laugh. While others have brought a warm smile to my face. Thank you. Reddit people. Grandfather used to say in his 20s. It was tri-weekly. In his 50s. It was tri-weekly. In his 80s. It was tri-weekly. I was hoping to find answers like I forgot. Well, let's put it this way. You can't get anyone pregnant and there's a good chance you're single because husband is dead and you're likely not really looking for anything serious. So yeah, retirement villages and nursing homes can be a hotbed for STDs. Not even joking. The one in our town got posters printed along the lines of "You're never too old for herpes," and my mother, local pharmacist, had to deliver the box of packs of condoms they ordered after it was found multiple residents had newly acquired STDs. I worked in a nursing home as a dining waitress. I hear some wild stories from the nurses. Sometimes they just sit naked together and nurses have walked in on that. Sometimes they go at it really loud. Personally, my experience was a serial masturbation story involving an older gentleman. The bathrooms near the dining rooms were right near where we kept our fresh tablecloths. So when we would break down the dining room and start to reset, an older gentleman in a wheelchair would move from the table to the bathroom. He would proceed to loudly masturbate. I guess I'm sorta happy for him that everything still worked. The kicker is sometimes he would moan random female names. But sometimes he would moan male names. Those male names happen to be waitstaff names. I hope it's still bomb. I'm still trying to deep throat and ride at 80. Gums only. Imagine your whole body is made out of saggy ass cheeks and they're all clapping unenthusiastically. You think 80-year-olds are cruising Reddit in the middle of the night? Nope. They're too busy banging. YTF you wondering? Good question. I was discussing sex with a friend of mine and the conversation came to this. Neither of us knew. So thought Reddit might be able to help out. 70+ person here. Close enough. If you think sex and intimacy is only or even primarily penis and vagina. Stroke. You are missing a lot. The speed and technique changes. Slows down some. Positions change to accommodate bad knees. Any of you have a bad knee? Or bad back or hips? Lubrication issues changed around menopause, which usually hits a woman mid-50s. Any of you ever use lube? Imagination. Attentiveness and cuddling take up more time. But the guys who knew that 40 years ago have more gold stars in my book anyway. And to quote the "You redhead banshee," now's a good time to remind folks out there that there is more to sex than intercourse. You can have fulfilling sex with your hands, mouth, toys, etc. Start learning now some incredible new moves to be able to incorporate in the bedroom now. And 50 years from now. It depends. Like two sacks of potatoes smashing together. Like hairless cats fighting in a pile of pizza dough. Stolen from the Goldbergs. It is a dry period now. For some 20 years it has been the same. I'm 20. Imagine being married for over 70 years. You've both only ever had sex with each other. You move into the old people home to live out your last days together. One day you walk into your room to see your husband/wife having sex with some random senior SL delinquent. I can't even imagine that type of pain. I'm gonna be really honest. I don't wanna know. You ever blow the dust of the top of a refrigerator? The one time I volunteered at a nursing home. I started a conversation with a man who was 80. He was a sharp dresser, with a cowboy hat and a bolo tie, about to go out for our birthday. He told me he had 2 girlfriends in the home. He told me, "It's not like it used to be, but we're still like 2 kids in a candy store." Then he laughed so hard he spit all over himself. 10/10. I'd volunteer again. I imagine it would be like slapping 2 carrier bags full of mayonnaise together. I can clearly hear this. Kinky. I mean, I'm in my teens, a boob-shaped shadow would make me crazy. In 20s I had to spend some time on Pornhub for that particular video. Now, in my early 30s, I have to dig darknet for hours just to get hard. Sounds like you have a problem, my man. Not that many people go through similar struggles. Pornography is not as healthy as it's made out to be. It's not impossible to change. It just takes work to rewrite the pathways in your brain. PRN is simply not worth it. This is a serious problem that I don't think can be wound back. Who TF is 80 plus and uses Reddit? 80